Let's finish getting everything ready. Oh, what a mess! What a mess! What a mess! The shop is a pigsty right now because we don't have to really like we're just sorting for shipment. We don't really have customers roaming through, so what a mess. We're doing okay. Don't get me wrong. We did have to X a bunch of accounts because, frankly, some people were stiffing us. We had thousands of dollars worth of books that basically people kept saying, "Oh yeah, I'll be in, I'll be in, I'll be in." Well, we're still paying for your books, and you're not picking up your books, and that's really doing us a disservice. It's doing us a very it's just doing us dirty, especially as a small business during the time of COVID. We're just trying to survive, and if you're not going to pick up your books, we can't afford to be paying for your books every week for months on end. So a bunch of people got the axe, and I'm sorry, we had to do it. We can't keep paying for books if you're not going to pick up. That's the sad truth. And those books, a lot of other people want those books, so we're just gonna be inviting in some of the irregulars. Well, not inviting them in, but bringing out the box of shame, which is at this point a cart of shame. And we're going to let people go through and pick all these stacks apart because, frankly, if you don't pick up your books, so you just can't keep holding them and keep ordering them. So sad truth, but it's done. We did get this week's shipment, both the Marvel and DC. We got almost everything. There is a 1 pound box of Diamond comic books. So Marvel, maybe some indies that still hasn't shown up. We don't know what's in it, but we got everything else handled. And whenever that box shows up, we'll finish that one tomorrow. But it's not much. We have almost everything. So the first book this week, this is Percy Bogdanovich and Wilson. And this is our damaged copy of Wolverine. Now, good old Wolverine, well, he likes Krakoa life. But one thing he doesn't like is, he wants a bit of a challenge. He doesn't like letting his guard down. So he decides that his personal gate is going to be in the unruly northern Canadian wilderness near a bar that is pretty rough. And if you can tell from the cover, you know who is in play here. Obviously, that's his old villain, Omega Red. Well, I guess it would be the old X-Men villain. But Omega Red is in play, so we're going to see some of that. And I kind of wondered what happened to him during the whole Krakoa stuff. So we get to get a little more backstory. Sorry, Twitch, I'm trying to fix it so you're not just quite looking at my nose. It's a pretty good issue. Nothing to really complain about. I had a good time. It's very Wolverine-esque. You know, Wolverine walking into a rough bar, trying to get a drink. Somebody hits him with a pool cue. You know these tropes. You know where it's going. But it was good. I had a good time. Nothing to complain about. Next is Jerry Duggan and Phil Noto, and that is the amazing Cable. I have had the best time with this. So what happens when you've got to help some people through time travel, but you got to go find your old body to get the arm out? Yeah, Cable's old future dead body. He's got to go find it. He goes there, and unfortunately, somebody has dug up his body and left a wrapper for a chimichanga nearby. Who could it be? Who is so in love with Cable that they would dig up his body? So, yeah, it's good. It goes in places that, I mean, you know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with Deadpool. The art is amazing. I really like Esme of all the Cuckoos being in play. You know, Emma Frost's daughters. Oh, yeah. Esme is the worst one, and yet she's the one that Cable's kind of infatuated with. So it's cool to see. Even though he's dating all of the Cuckoos, he's dating all of them. But yeah, so he's a bad girl thing, I guess. So having a really good time with this Cable run. Really, really fun. Come pick this up. Next is Captain Marvel, issue number 20. This, of course, is the Empire stand-in. Cap's got her own team, and if you can't tell from the cover, they've all got different versions of the hammer. So the team of the Accusers is at work here. And it's fun to read. Anything with War Machine is pretty darn good, in my opinion. Although, I will say, it always bothers me, because Captain Marvel is Air Force, right? Mm-hmm. She's Air Force. Isn't Rhodey Army?
Yeah. No, he's Air Force. Rhodey's Air Force.
Is he Air Force?
Yeah.
because they say "oorah" at one point in this, and I'm like, stop it, stop it. I get it. Everybody knows that term, but that's a Marine Corps term. The other branches don't use it. The Army uses "hua." Hua, hua, hua.
Or just
Huh? Yeah, it would get out of hand. But other than that, that one qualm, I had a really good time with this. I will say there's something weird going on here. Every captain in the Marvel universe right now seems to have their own team, which has me wondering if something's going on. So, anyways, there's a Captain Marvel team of the Accusers. It was fun. It was a good read. I was not bored one bit. The art was great. Let's keep going to the next team, and that would be Excalibur. And if you can't tell, Jubilee is a little bit pissed because somebody's kidnapped her son, who is a giant dragon. Yeah, that's been going on for quite some time. That's nothing new. But so she's trying to calm down. Jubilee has issues with calming down. If you know the character, you know that character will fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. But that's all going on. Meanwhile, there was a whole bunch of Captain Britons made up from pretty much that current team that were like clones a few issues back. Some of it's resolved, some of it's not. But I will say that there is a Captain Britain team, and this is it in Excalibur. So there's a Captain Britain team, there's a Captain Marvel team. And let's get to the next one, which I know is somewhere in here. That's right. Captain America and his Howling Command. Although it's not really Howling Commandos, it's just Cap and the Avengers, right? Well, some of the Avengers in this, because this is not the Captain America Empire running. Although he's got his own Howling Commandos in that thing.
Yes.
This is the Cap off the shelf that's a Ta-Nehisi Coates, where him, Falcon, and Winter Soldier are all sort of dealing with that town that's been possessed by a soul-eating witch demon something. It was pushed back a bit. It felt like Empire. They're like this felt like a while ago. It's great. Obviously, this cover is amazing. I don't know if you can see that cover. My God, that's an Alex Ross for sure. Yeah. So that's great. It's a return to form for Cap. Plus, I will say in this issue, we get a little Shuri. I'm happy to see Shuri back in something, and we get to see the Iron Patriot, Old Glory, the old Iron Patriot, old, yeah. You know what I'm doing here.
Back, aren't you?
You're gonna have to read it to find out what happens. It's cool. It was just unexpected for me. So yeah. This Cap run, I didn't like it for a long time because there was a lot of that Captain Hydra stuff, but he really pulled it out of the fire, and I have a really good time with this right now. So yeah, come pick this up. It's great.
Since we opened the story, he's been dealing with Captain Hydra.
There's all Captain teams right now.
Yeah.
Cap and the Howling Commandos, Cap and Captain Marvel and the Accusers. They all sound like bands. And Captain Britain and Team Captain Britain, well, and Excalibur.
They all sound like punk.
They all Captain Britain and Excalibur. They all sound like punk bands. Like, it's weird. Okay. Next is Transformers: Rise of the Decepticons, issues number 22. And again, so much politics, so much back and forth. But I will say, we see Bumblebee brutally murder someone in this. They had it coming, and we all know that the Transformers will go that far if pushed.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen that in a long time. No. I was thinking Transformers movie was like the point where everything was like, oh man, the gloves are off as a kid.
Because they killed off Optimus Prime.
They killed off Optimus Prime, yeah. Just like murdered him.
Jazz too, right? Like everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, they
my childhood.
yeah, and then they had the Micro Machine guy as those the Trash Planet voices.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, wait.
I was like, that's the Micro Machine guy.
Mini Bond. What was it? I can't remember the damn phrase.
Yeah, I can't remember. Unicron shows
Yeah.
up. There was so much weirdness in that old Transformers movie. But yeah, there's a lot of brutality and there's a lot of politics in this Transformers run, and it's so good. It's a great story. The art is amazing. Like okay. we knew that when we reset the Transformers universe, we knew that that final battle was like that was something else, and we kind of saw it coming because that Transformers run was amazing. And how many years had it been going? It was a long time. So we knew things were going to change, but I just didn't think it was going to be this good. Not coming on the heels of that. Like I had no concept of how good it was going to be. I'm having the best time. Granted, there's so many moving parts. There's so many characters, but you always knew that for Transformers. When you were a kid, yeah, I guarantee when I was a kid, at least, and when Yogi was a kid, we all had Transformers. Like everybody had the standards. Like you would have Bumblebee, maybe Ratchet, definitely Prime.
Yeah.
Some kid on your block would be lucky enough to have Megatron, which transformed into a rob a liquor store gun type stuff. But then there was always that kid that had that one that was like I don't know, Rimshot or some weird name, and you were like, what does that thing transform into? And it was like Sky Crane. You're like, what the hell is it? Like
the kid who had the one Constructicon.
Yeah. Was it Mixmaster?
No, it was the one with the boomer.
Oh, because there's a Constructicon called Mixmaster.
Yeah.
I always thought that was the coolest thing ever. Okay. But so this is what it's like. There were always a lot of moving parts in Transformers, and especially in the cartoon, they would always introduce one where you were like, who the hell is that? Like, and this feels a lot like that. You might like that or you might not. It's essentially a soap opera of machines. So it's very complex at times, and you're kind of left wondering who's who at times. But it's fun, it's good, and when you get to see them belt out, they really do. So come pick it up, and then we'll go on to Transformers, Terminator, the crossover nobody asked for. I don't think it's very weird. That's not to say it's not good. It's great. The art is great. The story is really weird. We have a younger Sarah Connor who is hanging out with a full-blown Terminator, and then like the Autobots are on the side of the Terminators. It's weird. I think they're trying to protect the timeline and stuff like that, because there is definitely time play in there. Meanwhile, the Decepticons are like, let's just kill this son of a bitch. I think they're actually pushing towards using the Terminator, but ultimately, like that's what they're dealing with. So is it good? It's good. The art is good. The story's good. There's nothing telegraphed here. I at times you worry for these crossovers that maybe they might be a little tropey and gimmicky.
My Little Pony.
What?
My Little Pony.
Oh yeah. But that didn't happen here. I'm actually intrigued by the story, and I'm saying that as somebody who came in on this on issue 3. I don't think I read the other 2. Did I read the first one? I don't think I did. And I will say it's definitely worth checking it out. Although, the cover, we get like a little glimpse of Arnold, but now he doesn't have any skin on him in the story. So I've kind of missed out on seeing that. Kind of bummed about that. But, it is what it is. Next is Jane Foster Valkyrie. Of course, we're talking about the great Jason Aaron, Grombeck, Razanos, and Albertov, and the sad face. This will be the last Valkyrie issue. Now, we know that Thor is under control of his stepbrother using the darkness, and he has also seized the all-weapon, which it kind of pisses off Jane Foster just a bit, just slightly. But what I will say is, God, this story has been great. I have nothing to complain about the story. It's good Jason Aaron writing, and of course, he's going to write this character well because, he wrote Thor so good. So it's a good ending. I like the ending, and it's not the death of Valkyrie. I will say that. A little spoiler. It's not the death of Valkyrie. We're going to see her in other stuff, to include the next Venom event, which I can't wait for. So that's coming. It's great. It's really, really good. Honestly, this Jane Foster Valkyrie, the issue number 10, you need to check it out. You probably shouldn't jump in there. Jump in a couple issues back, but it's still pretty good. Next to a book, I don't know where to place this, Top Cow. It's very weird. Stephanie Phillips, Craig Cermak, John Calisi, and Troy Petery. This is the story of Jack Rackham and Mary Bonnet and Mary Reed. I think it is who it is. It's the two women who disguise themselves as pirates and serve with Jack Rackham. Now, the true story about this, A Man Among Ye, is when Rackham was actually caught, like they were ambushed and none of them would fight. The only ones that were going to fight were the women because most of the crew were drunk. And in real life, like when they captured them, they didn't kill the women. One of them was pregnant, or maybe both of them.
No, one of them was pregnant.
Yeah, one of them was pregnant, and they weren't going to kill them both. And what Anne Bonny, that's who it is, Anne Bonny. What she says to Jack Rackham is, if you had fought on your feet like a man, then you wouldn't have died like a dog. And wow, what a brutal quote from history. So that's the true story. How true is this to history? And I don't not too much. I mean, wow, have we over sexualized Anne Bonny? Like wow. This feels like a Zenoscope novel with how they've gone over the top with that. I mean, it's not a bad pirate's tale. I was actually a little intrigued halfway through, and it feels like a pirate's tale. It's just the art kind of throws me off at times. I'm not sure why that is. But I will say, if you like pirates, you will probably like this book. It's not the best pirate thing out there, but it's pretty good. And I will never complain about more pirate comics. Next is Shadow Service issue number 1, and wow, this is a weird story. This is essentially a witch sort of working for a CIA-like organization where they hunt down some evil magics and stuff like that. And she's a witch armed with a nail gun. Why a nail gun? Why a nail gun? Any guesses? No, not 9-inch nails. No. Is an old witch legend. This is a real legend.
Yeah. If you the footprint, if you
nail through a footprint, you can hold something evil in place. And so she uses a nail gun for that. She just runs around fighting with a nail gun. And I like that. I'm terribly intrigued by this story. The art, too, is really good. The story is, well, they throw you in, and at times it feels a little bit rushed because they're trying to introduce the character, and they're telling some backstory about the character, but I haven't quite bonded with the character when they do start to tell the backstory. So the writing is a little rushed at times, but I wasn't bored. I will say that. And I want to know more about this story, too. So odd purchase from Vault Comics. We don't normally buy Vault Comics all that often. Nothing to complain about. Had a pretty good time. MI666 is on the back instead of MI6. MI666. I get it. Okay. Had a good time. Want to know more, and I think that's a good opening for any comic. So we probably will be carrying this from here on out. So come check it out. Next is a story that I'm kind of glad came to an end, and that is, well, it's Hickman, Molina, Wernick, Di Benedetto, Woodard, and Rosenberg. God, it's weird to say that I'm happy that a Hickman story came to an end, but this felt all over the place. And that was, well, the Empire X-Men tie-in. So it was essentially these old ladies hack the gates, and they're the team called Horticulture, right? And they were essentially Golden Girls. Like, they were the Golden Girls, sex jokes and all. Not even kidding.
Oh, wow.
Just sort of roaming around in the X-Men area. And then the Katati attacked, and then they had to deal with the mutant zombies of Genosha, and then had to deal with plant mutant zombies, like a giant one that was like a kaiju. And then Magic grabbed the all tree, what is it, the world tree?
Oh.
The root of the world tree, and became a demon. And then, like, oh, God, something's wrong with this story. The ending was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I had a good time with the ending. I was surprised to see who showed up in it. I'm not going to complain about the ending. The story has too many moving parts. There is weirdness going on here. And if I had to guess, I would say that this story was written without the Empire tie-in, without the Katati. And then at the last minute, an editor popped up and said, hey, let's just throw it into the Empire event. And I'm pretty sure left both the writers and artists sort of grappling. That would be my guess. I have no idea if that's what happened. That's just my guess, but that's what it feels like. The story feels rushed. It feels like there's too much going on. The art's good, but it's just weird. And this is the wrap up. I honestly liked issue 4 about as much as I liked issue 1. which I didn't much care for 2 and 3. So this one's pretty good. It's better than the other ones, but and it's an ending. It's just not a story I really wanted, and it was the weakest of the Empire tie-ins. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. Next is Honey. Give me this issue of Kids. It's clearly Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Kids is such a weird story. It's kids surviving in a zombie apocalypse. They're going about their lives. Meanwhile, some of them seem to like 80s culture, and they're referencing Spielberg, and a couple of them actually are into making movies and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what you get. There's a lot of weird stories abound with this kids run, and it's not like it's anything bad. It's an interesting story. It's cool characters. The art is great. It's just at times it just feels sort of whimsical and aimless, and maybe that's like Goonies feel sort of at times. But yeah, I had a really good time with it. It does like feel like the 80s, which is what they're going for, obviously. So issue number 6 of the Kids, come pick it up. It's great. Next is issue number 19 of Joss Whedon's Firefly. That's Greg Pak, Lalit Kumar Sharma, and Francesco Segala. And well, I like this story, and I do like seeing Mal in the sheriff role. And I have little to complain about as far as the writing is concerned, but keep in mind, I am kind of a Greg Pak fan. But the art is so weird, and I keep saying that. Like every single time I pick up one of these, like the writing's great, the art puts me off. It's just entirely colored pencils, is what it feels like. There's not a drop of ink, and because of it, it always feels unfinished to me. And granted, this artist is far better than I am as an artist, for sure. If you asked me to draw a Firefly comic, it would be stick figures and weirdness. But something about the art is just off to me and doesn't fit. Now, keep in mind, there are a lot of people that super love this series. And so I'm sure that if you're into this, you're totally invested in it, and you're a brown coat for sure. So you probably are not complaining about this. Just the art snob in me gets a little irked about this. So if you are an art snob and you're thinking of jumping in on Firefly, come pick up the issue and thumb through it before you make your purchase. That's all I'm gonna say. The covers are amazing. All the covers all instantly sell me on this story. And God, they're so good. The art inside is different. It's different. It feels different. Just put it that way. Next is a story that I am enjoying, but my God, how long did we wait between 3 and 4? Star.
Oh God, yeah, it's been months.
Thompson, Pina, Andre, Albertov, and O'Halloran's. Man, so we're finally getting the second fight, I guess you could say, between Star and Captain Marvel. And Star is a new hero who has the Reality Stone embedded in her chest. So she's kind of learning her new powers, and has pissed off Captain Marvel because last time she encountered her, she tried to steal her powers. So yeah, she's grappling with that. Meanwhile, well, the Black Order has arrived, and they've got plans for the Infinity Stone, and it doesn't include the flesh around it. So yeah, that might create a problem. So Star, honestly, the fight is great. The art is great. As far as the story arc is concerned, I'm intrigued. I want to know more. I like this new character. I like that she didn't start out as a good guy. She started out as a bad guy, and this is sort of a redemption story for her. I like her outfit. Nothing to complain about. Just wish this comic would come out a little bit more often than, I don't know, how long has it been? It's been a long time, and it's probably Corona. That's probably why. But my God, it was a long time. I had to remember what was happening, and I was still a little confused. So yeah, as far as comics are concerned, this one I would honestly rate this as one of the better ones this week. So come pick it up. But if you are invested in that Star story, you might want to go back and reread the last issue just to catch up on what happened. Next is a comic I am loving right now. Loving across the board. And granted, it's because I'm a giant Moon Knight fan. So, of course, we're talking about the Earth's mightiest heroes, the Avengers, and them versus Khonshu. Now, Khonshu has won. He's stolen Thor's hammer. He's stolen the power of Ghost Rider. He's stolen God, so many powers of the Avengers that a few of the Avengers are left, and Khonshu has reformed the world to be all Moon Knight themed, all Egyptian Moon Knight themed. And all of this is because Mephisto is somehow going to beat Khonshu. Khonshu's scared. Mephisto is somehow going to kill Khonshu. And that's what we're grappling with right now. And it's wild to see because Moon Knight has beaten all the Avengers. And what's even funnier is like, at one point in this story, Captain Marvel says, you know, Moon Knight's always been a little off, but this is a bit far. And saying that Moon Knight has been a little off, that is the understatement of a century. Like, Moon Knight has always been a little off. Moon Knight, what? Yeah, he's off by miles, like, and that's why we love him. So I'm having such a good time with this. I know it's going to come to an end, and I know that the end is probably soon because we're building to a fight between Black Panther and Moon Knight, and yeah, Black Panther does not lay down and die. So it's going to be a great fight, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. But man, what a wild run. Everything is moon themed. Have I told you this? They've got the moon train. They've got moon zealots. They've got like guys. Yeah. Moon pot. Everything is moon themed, and I love it. I love it. I'm having the best time. So, yep. Oh, you're waiting for Thor? We'll get to it. I promise, Luke's. We will get to it. It's definitely in the stack. Next is G.I. Joe, issue number 7. This takes place after Cobra has beaten everything, right? It's Obey Cobra. And we're getting a new hero into G.I. Joe. That's her right there. And she feels very Scarlet-esque. I'm not sure if she is Scarlet. I have to wonder if that's not Scarlet. But she feels very Scarlet-esque. And this is sort of her origin story, kind of. I mean, she's been a sergeant before, but I don't think she's been a Joe, is what is hinted at. But it's cool. It's just all this G.I. Joe stuff feels so off with Cobra having won. It's just weird. It's weird. And a lot of these books are not action. It feels like very dystopian, and like Joe's got to rise up and fight through it. And I get it. They're pushing Orwell, and that's what they want it to feel like. But man, we're 7 issues deep. Like, let's throw the punch already, man. So, yeah, it's good. It's just not a G.I. Joe book. It doesn't feel like yet. Next is issue number 1. At last, the origin of the Hulk's greatest foe, himself. And, of course, we're talking about Maestro, which I wouldn't consider his greatest foe at this point. I would consider the Hulk's greatest foe the Devil Hulk at this point.
Yeah.
Or just himself, like himself. Yeah. So while I'm invested in this Maestro story, and it's cool to see, and it's nice that the character's sort of making a comeback, I can't help but feel this is Peter David, German Peralta, Dale Keown, Jesus Albertov, and Jason Keith. I can't help but feel like with the Immortal Hulk being on our shelves and being as good of a comic as it is, this just I'm not as invested in it. I'm more like, I read this and I'm like, man, I can't wait to get to that next issue of Immortal Hulk and see where it goes. But it's good. It's good. For number 1, it's pretty good. I wanted to know more. It's nice to see Maestro's origin story, although told a bit disjointed. The art's good. Nothing to complain about. It's just, I don't know that many people that are huge Maestro fans. So issue number 1 is kind of like, it's cool, but the Devil Hulk was way scarier. So next is issue number 1 of a story that is, well, it's weird. That is Voyage to the Stars. This is Asmus, Diadon, and Graham. This is IDW. It's number 1. It's kind of cool. It's strange. There's furry-esque characters in space and a spaceship pilot that seems very Quill-esque from Guardians of the Galaxy. And so they find a pod with a rather beautiful man is in the pod, and the captain is immediately threatened. And then they accidentally kill him. So this is shaping up like Weekend at Bernie's. I'm not kidding. They're selling it as Weekend at Bernie's. One of the panels looks like Weekend at Bernie's. So this is Weekend at Bernie's in space so far. Now, was the story good? Yeah, it was pretty good. They slap balls on a mech for whatever reason. There's testicles on a mech at one point in the story. Uh, it's funny. I chuckled a couple times. It's a number one, so but really I just want to know where this is going because it's very strange at times. Very strange. So I will say, number one, it's okay. I might wait an issue if I was going to jump in on this and see what number two seems like. But right now, Weekend at Bernie's in Space is a weird concept. So let's see where it goes. Next is Rick and Morty Go to Hell. Of course, this is Ferrier, Orzaro, Stern, and Crank. I have not hid that I kind of like this miniseries. It's been pretty good. It's felt more like the cartoon than the current comic on the shelf. Not to say that the Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons doesn't feel better, because that's really the best Rick and Morty brand right now, I would say, other than the TV show, obviously. But it was pretty good. This is, well, it's close to the wrap up. It feels like there's another issue. Yeah, there's at least one more issue. Laughed a few times, had a good time, felt like the cartoon. Nothing to complain about. If you're a Rick and Morty fan, you will probably like that series. Don't jump in on that, though. Come get a back issue first. Next is Swordsman, Lords of Empire. This, of course, is the Empire tie-in centering around the Swordsman. And a bit of the passing of the sword to his son. And I don't know. I don't know this character all that well, and he feels like a swashbuckler inspired character, and it's 2020. It's 2020. I don't care about swashbuckler superheroes outside of maybe Zorro. Yeah. So I mean, I like pirate stories, but he doesn't feel like a space pirate, so I don't much care. Is it good? Yeah, it's okay. This is Pack Natchlik and Mins. I guess if you really, really need more Empire in your life, then yeah, pick it up. Anyone else, you could probably set it aside and skip it and still be pretty invested in the Empire story. So I would say spend your space bucks somewhere else on a better space comic like, I don't know, Thor issue number 6. This, of course, is Donny Cates, Nick Klein, Matt Wilson. And this began with Galactus sort of crashing into Asgard and saying that the Black Winter is coming and he was doomed and he needed the help of Thor. And he made Thor his herald, and that put Thor at odds with Beta Ray Bill and Sif and a few others. And it's gone back and forth, and now we get the ending. So let's discuss this for a bit. I'm not going to spoil what happens. I mean, you can look at the cover and see that it says Herald of None, and maybe guess. If you've been following the story, maybe you'll guess what's kind of happened. But I will say that Galactus as a character has always felt like Marvel's biggest loose end. Does it not? And by biggest, I mean galactic size, like loose end. He's just roaming around destroying things. He was birthed too soon. He's just the devourer of worlds from a dead universe. He's never been resolved, and he's always been like the giant ticking clock of the Marvel universe. So does he get resolved here? I'm not going to spoil it. You're going to have to read the comic. I will say the ending was awesome. It was awesome. It's very Donny Cates, and that it alludes to something else, and I was intrigued because that's what Donny Cates does. And he's retooled the character a couple times, but this was a really, really fun run. Like, people were falling, like they were just crawling hand over fist to try and get like second and third printings and stuff like that, because it's awesome. The art is amazing. The story is amazing. It's fun. It's probably going to be a collector's. I mean, like, it's already a collector's item. And like, it really, really is. You should be reading this. You should be reading. Who knew that Donny Cates was going to be the one guy that could follow Jason Aaron? Who saw that coming?
I think anyone who's reading
Well, yeah, anyone who's reading Venom probably saw that coming. But I will say that I felt like you have huge shoes to fill if you're going to like write Thor after Jason Aaron.
Right.
And somehow he pulled it off, and it was great. And granted, it's just a mini series. This is the last issue. But I want more Donny Cates Thor. Like, I hella do. Oh, man. we could have a good discussion on Hulk versus Maestro. We could, Nate. We could. Okay. Next book, Anthony Birch, Simone Ragazioni. I hope I said that right. Raul Angulo. And we're talking about Drakon, New Dawn. And this is the Pink Ranger who is the Ranger Slayer, has beaten Lord, is it Drakon or Draken? I know Draken.
Like a dragon.
Draken. I like that name worse than Drakon. Drakon sounds very exotic and cool. And Draken sounds like I've hacked something up. But anyway, so she's beaten Lord Draken. She's dismantling his world, dismantling his prison, and might have accidentally released something new and monstrous. Because of course that's how it's gonna happen. At the same time, some people are accusing her of being the new Lord Draken because, well, I mean, she's sitting in his throne. That's weird, and she does look very Draken-esque, so why not? I don't know what's going on with her as a character. It's weird.
She's got absolute power.
And she's hanging out with people like Scorpina and stuff like that. It's like, dude, you good guys don't call themselves Scorpina. Not often. Like, you need to dial that back, I think. Anyway, so it's good. The art is great. The story is great. I'm intrigued. As somebody who is not the biggest of Power Ranger fans, I want to know where this is going. I'm super into it. I think I've broken the mic.
Oh no.
Yeah, maybe I fixed it. It's okay. So yeah, come pick this up. It's great. If you haven't, this is issue number 1, so jump in on it now. You won't be confused, and it's pretty fun. So if you really like that Shattered Grid stuff and you want something that feels like the beginning of that Shattered Grid stuff, this is starting to feel like it.
One scene in the MCU where it's Ant-Man and Captain America, like, these guys are Hydra agents? Like, yeah, we didn't know. Like, how did you not know? They look like bad guys.
Oh, yeah. This is in the movie, right?
Yeah, the movie, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
How do you not know you're working with bad guys?
Right? And I remember, like, in the Injustice 2 event, I think it was, like, Plastic Man went to go rescue his son, and when he confronts, like Superman and stuff like that, he's like, you're sitting on a literal throne. Like, how do you not see that you're the bad guy now? Look at that guy, Sinestro. He's hanging out with you. And who has a mustache like that that's a good guy, except Yogi?
It's kind of grown a little wild lately.
Yeah. So
you not know you're hanging out with the bad guys, man. Come on.
I'm going off on a tangent here. Next issue, before we get to the DC comics, which were my favorite parts of the week. There's a couple issues left. Issue number 2 of Transformers: Secret and Lies. They have made this so much like the 80s comics that even has the newsprint in there, and it feels like it. We get a Dinobots like introduction that feels very Dinobots. Like, you remember in the cartoons when Dinobots first arrived, and we were like, who the hell is that? Who is that?
What's even going on?
So it felt like that. I was super into this, but again, it scratches that itch of my childhood. So if you're not, if you didn't like the old newsprint comics, or you didn't like grow up with those Transformers, come thumb through it before you commit, is all I'm gonna say. It feels very brutal at times, which again is how the cartoon felt to me as a kid. Next is Dead Day, and we've talked about this. Like, what would happen if you could just revive people randomly after they died, and how would the world cope and stuff like that? That's what this is. It's covering sort of that, not quite in the same way I've tooled about it, but it's some of it. One of the things that was kind of cool to see play out in this story was the price of beer is forever priced at whatever it was when you died. So there was one guy who was like, I died in 1968. This cost me 50 cents. He was like all happy and stuff. So it's weird. You're seeing the world cope. A lot of the dead are like now wearing like masks or biker helmets or like, bags on their head because they don't want people to see their flesh rotting. Yeah, it's
Well, they're
weird.
undead, yeah.
They're reviving people in a very corporate American way, where like a bunch of like the dead crawl out of the and there's like a woman there with like a bunch of other suits behind her, and she's like, "Hi, welcome back to the world. So if everybody can line up, we'll welcome you back to the undead unlife." And like, you're like, the hell is going on here?
Okay, we're walking.
I'm super into this. Like, I want to know where this is going. I see why the art is good. I see why a couple people were asking me about it. The art is good. The story's really cool. I want to know where it's going. Obviously, if you're gonna revive the dead, it's gonna go really sour eventually. We're all waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe it doesn't. I mean, maybe it doesn't. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because you want zombies, that's how you get zombies that eat your flesh. That's just how you do it. If you welcome them into your world, that's fine, but they're still zombies.
Speak for the Necronomicon and say Kandar.
Next is what the book we call it said it was like Star Wars meets the Terminator because the main character looks like the Terminator, and that is, of course, bounty hunters. So old Lash has got a problem. He's chasing an old case. He's trying to get to the bottom of things. All the other bounty hunters are sort of at each other's throats. Meanwhile, there's the ticking time bomb of Boba Fett moving through everyone else, building to a fight between Lash. And it's going to happen. It's not in this issue. It's going to happen. Maybe in the next issue. But if Boba Fett doesn't win, I'm done with this series. I'm sorry. I don't care how badass Lash is being built to be. He just doesn't hold a candle to Boba Fett. I don't care how you write this story. I don't think he does. And that's just my 2 cents. I'm into it. I'm just not greatly into it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that one of our regulars who's another huge Star Wars fan was like, I think I'm done with that Bounty Hunter series. It's not, the story's not bad. The art's not bad. It's not horrible. It just, at times it doesn't feel very Star Wars. You have characters who are supposed to be Jedi not acting quite like Jedi. You have bounty hunters who are not acting quite like bounty hunters. And meanwhile, you're building up this character that I really am not too invested in as going to be fighting with Boba Fett. I would rather Boba Fett beat the crap out of him. I hope it ends that way. I honestly do. and then I'll be all happy. But we'll have to wait and see. This is Sachs, Villanelli, and Prianto. I'm not sure what's off with this story, but as far as the Star Wars titles are concerned, this one, which I had high hopes for, something's off. That's all I'm going to say. And don't jump in on this issue. Go back an issue or two. Next is the weirdest book of the week, and that, of course, is the Street Fighter swimsuit issue. What?
Yes.
It is Street Fighter, and we all know those characters are pretty hypersexualized, but my God, they're really hypersexualized in this. And not just the women, the men too. And did you know there's a trans Street Fighter character?
I did not know that.
There is a trans Street Fighter character. Well, I think that's the rumor. I don't think it's ever been truly confirmed. Maybe it has. But yeah, and they're in this too. So it's just different. It's like a swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated, but with Street Fighter characters. It's weird. I mean, they're drawn really well. It's nothing I would buy off the shelf, but some people dig this sort of thing, and we've got it. If you really want to see like Dawson in a bikini, it might be in this.
Kind of do now.
I'm not kidding you. There is an M Bison in like with his cloak like pulled open in a Speedo. This is the weirdest thing.
Like
and the worst part about seeing that was I kept thinking, that's the role Raul Julia played. Wow. Next is a book that I thought was weird in the beginning. Can you give me a drink? Like one of them ramenes? Next is a book that I didn't realize I was going to be into. The artist has a huge following in our store. It's the same artist that did Little Bird, I think it was. Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. It's Mike Spicer. Now, this of course is Dead Earth. This is the variant cover. This is when Wonder Woman wakes up in an apocalypse world, and it's an apocalypse that she sort of caused, and most of her friends are dead. So what does she do with Clark's corpse? Well, she desecrates it, rips out its spinal column, and turns him into a whip. Because, frankly, a Kryptonian's like skeletal body is probably like a brutal weapon, like an unbreakable thing. So that's what she's doing. So it feels at times very like much like a metal event that is not a metal event. And at first, I really was not into this story. Like, I didn't like the story. And even though Mike Spicer's got a pretty big following, the art to me at times didn't appeal to me. And it's grown on me. The story's grown on me. The art's grown on me. Granted, it's definitely not a main continuity storyline. There's all types of problems with it. But it's fun. It's good. And like I said before, and I think Derek McCaw, when I was talking to him from Fanboy Planet like last week, he said like the metal events feel like they're a main continuity story that don't feel like main continuity. And that's the God's honest truth. And it's the same thing with this. This is definitely not main continuity, but it's sort of sold like it is at times. It's weird. But it's fun. It's really, really fun. And, well, I think this is the end of it, right? Yeah, this is the end of it. But it was a good ending. I didn't have anything to complain about. That's how an apocalypse ending is supposed to be. A little dark and then a little bit of a dawn, but not a great one. But it was a good ending. It was a good ending. It was a good story. The artist, I was invested in the artist at the end of it. And that's to say something. The guy really grew on me. So, yeah, it was pretty good. I need a sip of something before I go. Because now we're going to talk about Batman.
Yeah.
Batman issue 97, The Joker War, part 3. Wow. So Batman went to the old cinema where the Joker had bought. His old cinema where his parents had been killed out front, or in the alley behind it. Where they played the Mark of Zorro, only to find all of the victims of the Joker over the years in the audience. Yeah, so that's nightmare sauce. On top of that, he's been doused with a new chemical, a new Joker toxin created by Punchline. It's kind of a mix of stuff. And this mix has caused him to hear Alfred's voice the whole time. And at one point, they still justify it. At one point, the radio shorts out and he can no longer hear Alfred's voice. So you're left wondering, like, was he hearing Alfred's voice? Was he not hearing Alfred's voice? What's going on here? Like, what's happening? It's great. It's really, really good. Harley reveals something about Gotham that even Batman didn't know about in this issue. I'm telling you, man, Tynion the Fourth, Jimenez, and Mori, they've hit gold with this Joker War. Like, it's good, and this issue in particular was damn good. At times, it felt campy the way the art was drawn and the fight was drawn. Felt like an old school like Batman comic, and for good reason. I mean, he's kind of high on like hallucinogens and stuff like that, but it was fun. It's awesome. I've had a great time with this. And granted, I'm a huge King fan, and I know what a divide that is in the community, but I like Tom King. And I was worried that him having been taken off the comic early and not been able to see things out, that it was going to affect everything and make the story worse for wear. And no, Tynion the Fourth has really scooped it up and ran with it. So I'm having a great, great time with this. Keep going, keep building. But we need to talk about all the moving parts in that, and something that's not tied to it real fast. So we'll do Justice League in the grip of Black Mercy madness. Now, Black Mercy, if you don't know this character, it's sort of a space parasite that convinces people that they're living in a utopia while they're really just like being fed. Yeah. Being eaten, I guess, is a way to word it. So the Justice League finds themselves at odds with it after it has grown to the size of a planet. So that's messed up. That's this issue. You might enjoy it. As a Justice League fan, I don't know. Loveless, Rocca, Henriquez, Falardo Jr. It feels like Justice League is just sort of scrambling, and each issue sort of feels like filler as they wait for Snyder to maybe come back after Dark Knight's Metal. I don't know if he's coming back. I hope he is. But I don't know. it felt fillery. So not fillery like the magicians, but fillery. It wasn't the best book of the week by any means. And as a Justice League fan, it kind of breaks my heart to say that I felt like this was a bit skippable. So yeah. Next is, well, it's the Joker War tie-in Nightwing, and poor old Grayson. Man, people have messed with his head all year long. He got shot in the head by KG Beast and lost all his memory, only to find that he decided he was going to be Rick Grayson, and he couldn't quite escape the Nightwing mantle, only to find that the Court of Owls had been twisting his memory, and only to find that he was convinced he might actually be the next Talon and not Nightwing himself, only to find that the Joker now has the crystal, and he's convinced him that he's always been a sidekick for the Joker against Batman.
Huh.
Jesus Christ, how is he not Moon Knight already? What is going on? Man, poor old Grayson. One of the things that I did like in this issue is good old Barbara Gordon says, look, you're Dick Grayson. Like, you're the best Robin. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
The first Robin, the best Robin.
The ones that they all follow.
I mean, okay, you're throwing shade, but I get it. So, Jurgens, Benjamin, Fred, and Barreto, I thought Nightwing was coming to an end at 70. I could have swore it was.
This one's 75?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's good. This Joker War stuff is good. I will say it ends where you've tapped Tim Drake, and I think Damian might be there, and definitely Red Hood is there. So you've tapped all the other Robins, and you're an evil Nightwing. That might blow up in your face, especially since Red Hood doesn't play by your rules.
No.
So
Might not work out so well.
I think Damian alone would probably be like, Grayson's tough. I will agree, Grayson's tough. But Damian has his grandfather in him, so he's
And his father.
and his father. Yeah, that's true too.
He's definitely a child of two worlds.
And then just Red Hood. Being the Red Hood fan, I know that probably in a one-on-one fight, like Jason Todd might have problems with Nightwing. Then again, we saw, what was the event this year where everyone was versus Jason Todd? It was that villain, Leviathan.
Leviathan,
The villain nobody cared about.
that Damien was convinced was Red Hood.
Yeah. So we saw him take on pretty much all the heroes in the DC universe at one point, and he won.
Yeah.
So props to Red Hood. And our last book of the week is issue 75, The Roast, a Joker War tie-in, a series finale. This comic has it all except for class. Sam Humphries, Basri, Rosmo, High Five, Placencia, and many more. And that is the wrap-up for Harley Quinn. She's gotten the axe from DC, sad face. So she's one of the victims of all this nonsense and the cutbacks.
AT&T!
AT&T, what are you doing to our comics, man? What are you doing? What I will say, as far as the series finale is concerned, this is great, and it has everything. It has a bit of the animated series. It has some throwback stuff. It has some regular comic stuff. It has stuff that feels like the Suicide Squad art, and I'm pretty sure they called in the artist for that. There's definitely artists all over the board. And then the final story is a tie-in to when Punchline cut her throat and how she survived that. So it was pretty awesome. And yeah, not only the sacrifice she made in that, it was a sacrifice of more of her past, and a sacrifice to what kind of character she was, the way it wrapped up. So it was really, really cool to see. So as far as like a Harley story is concerned, Sam Humphries really ended this well. He ended it well. He did it justice. And I think, I know we have some diehard Harley fans in our store, which is always weird to me because she started out as a villain.
Yeah.
As a villain, not in the comics, but in the animated TV show. And then just like,
Awesome. Yeah.
like grew like fire. So it was a great, great ending. And on top of that, this is a pretty thick comic. I will say this is a $5.99 comic, so it's a buck up. but it's a thick comic. It feels like a lot of quality. Honestly, this would be a pretty good collector's piece, I would say. A very, very good choice piece. Maybe something you should throw into a CGC box. But yeah, so we have it. We've got a few issues. It's pretty good. I'm not gonna say it's the best comic of the week. What was the best comic of the week?
Batman. Oh.
Maybe it was Batman, but I'm a huge Batman fanboy, so I probably shouldn't. Everybody knows it. They're like, you're gonna pick Batman every week for the pick of the week, and you might be right. No, I'm gonna say the pick of the week for me is the new Kimberly Lord Dracon Power Rangers comic. That was great. That was really, really good. Even as someone who doesn't know like Power Rangers mythos as well as everyone else, like I still picked up on most of the characters, and I was pretty into that. So that's gonna be my pick of the week, followed by Batman. So that's our show for this week. Wow, it's 7:00. We went a full hour past. Wow, okay. That's our show for this week. We're gonna do the dance, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys. Let me end the stream. Did it end? Why did you not end? End.
It's still going.
End.
All right.